Pharaoh then took off his signet ring and put it on Joseph's hand, and put on him some of the finest threads as well as a gold chain around his neck. Joseph rode in a chariot right next to the Pharaoh, so that folks bowed down to him just like they did the Pharaoh. Homeboy was only 30 when all of this went down. Then 7 years of plenty came and went, and Joseph banked the extra food to prepare for the lean years. And then the hard times came, and people went crying to Pharaoh. But Pharaoh sent them to Joseph, telling them, whatever he says is cool. So all the countries came to Joseph to buy grain because times were really rough. Joseph's bros get what's coming. Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, and he asked his sons to go there.
What's wrong with you guys?
He asked.
Why are you looking at one another like that?
And Jacob said,
It's true. There's grain in Egypt. Go down and buy for us so that we can live and not die.
So Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob kept his son Benjamin home with him,
so that nothing will happen to my boy.
The sons of Israel went to buy grain along with those who were also looking for grain. Now Joseph was governor over all the land, and he sold to all the brothers and sisters everywhere. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down to him, and Joseph recognized them, but he jocked them and pretended he didn't. Where are you from? He asked harshly.
The land of Canaan.
They replied because they didn't recognize him. Well, I think you're spies. You've come to see if we're all about this and that. We're one man's sons, man. We don't want to jock you. No, sir. But Joseph wasn't buying it. You're spies, I'm telling you. And he looked like he was going to throw them into jail right there on the spot. But then he softened a bit. But I tell you what. Bring me your youngest brother, Benjamin. And if you're telling the truth, you'll live. I'll keep one of your brothers here with me. If you lie, he dies. The brothers were feeling guilty. If only they hadn't done evil to their other brother, Joseph. If only they could turn back the hands of time. They told their oldest brother, Reuben, what they had really done. Hey, man, we're really sorry. This curse is on our heads because we wouldn't leave that boy alone. And Reuben said, I knew it. I told you guys not to do that, and you went ahead and did this. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you listen? Now look what his blood on our hands is doing. And they were a pitiful sight, because they didn't know that Joseph was their brother, for he spoke to them through an interpreter like he didn't understand Hebrew, when he really did. Joseph had to turn his back and wipe the tears from his eyes because he felt so bad. But turning back to them, he pointed to Simeon. Leave him with me, he ordered, and turned away, but not before giving the brothers sacks of grain for provisions. Later, when one of the brothers opened the sacks, he found money on top of the grain. He thought that maybe their money was being returned, but they were still afraid. What's going on, Lord? They implored. We can't take this. Then they went to Jacob, their dad, and told him all that happened. This man is the Lord of the land and thought we were spies. Honest, we told him we weren't, but he wasn't buying it. So he asked us to bring our youngest brother to him. By this he would know that we were honest. Dad, he took Simeon. And when they emptied the sacks of grain, they found money in each sack.
Oh, what have you boys done now?
Questioned Jacob.
First I lose Joseph, now Simeon, and you want me to give you Benjamin? What is happening here?
Then Reuben told his dad, Look, kill my 2 sons if I do not bring Benjamin back to you. Put this on my shoulders. I will bring Benjamin back.
Nah, said the father. Should anything happen to Benjamin, it'll be my death. He cannot go.
Joseph's plan. There wasn't nothing to eat for miles around. So when they were finally running out of food, Jacob asked the brothers to go back and buy some food. But Judah warned that they could not go back unless the governor could see Benjamin.
Look, Dad, if you send Benjamin with us, we'll go.
But if you will not send him with us, we can't go. The guy won't even show his face unless Benjamin is with us. And anyway, he's still got Simeon. And Israel said,
Why did you deal so poorly with this man? What has he got to do with us?
And it was surely a puzzle.
Yeah, the man even asked if our father was alive, and asking if we had another brother. It's almost as if he could see right into our home. How could we have known that he would ask us to bring Benjamin? What can we do? Then Judah said to Israel, his dad, "Look, Dad, send the boy with me, and we'll go down there in order to put some food on the table. We don't want to die. If we hadn't stayed here so long, we would be back by now. As it stands, it's going to be rough either way. We got to take Ben, Dad. We've got to." And Jacob, having no choice, said, "Okay, take some fruit in our best containers and carry down a present for the man. A little balm and a little honey, spice, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. And this time, double the money in your hands. Take back the money he returned, because it's probably a mistake. And take Benjamin. And I'll pray that the Almighty will have mercy. I can't lose my baby." So the brothers did as their father had told them to, and when they returned to Egypt, they took Benjamin and doubled the money. Now the brothers were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they knew it was because of the money. "He's going to make us slaves," one said. And when they were brought into Joseph's house, they pleaded, "Look, we really did come to buy grain the time before. We found the money after we left." They were explaining things left and right. And the servant told them, "Be still." He told them not to be afraid, for your God and the God of your father has given you everything you have. Then he brought out Simeon. So the boys were brought into the house, and their donkeys were fed. The brothers were told that they would eat supper there. And then Joseph came home. They gave him presents. Joseph inquired of their father, "Is he in good health?" "He is still alive, isn't he?" Then lifting his eyes, Joseph saw Benjamin, his brother, and his mother's son, and said, "Is this your younger brother that you told me about?" And they answered, "Yes." And he said to Benjamin, "God be gracious to you, man." Now Joseph wanted to cry, and he excused himself so that he wouldn't get all weepy in front of everyone. And he let them eat because they couldn't eat together. In those days, it was a rule that the Egyptians and the Hebrews didn't eat together. But they sat down according to the date of birth, and all were served. But Benjamin was given 5 times what his brothers were given. In fact, Joseph made sure that Benjamin was treated almost like royalty. And the brothers partied hearty, though they didn't know that Joseph was their brother. Plan in effect. So Joseph told his servants to fill the men's sacks with as much food as they could carry. But he also told his servant to put a silver cup in Benjamin's sack. And he sent his brothers on their way. But as soon as they were out of the city, Joseph asked his steward, "Get up, follow the men, and when you find them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid my master with evil after all he's done for you?' And look in the bags and find the cup and ask, 'Wasn't this for my master's house, you thieves?'" And it was done. But the brothers were appalled. "How could you think such a thing? Didn't we bring back double the money? Look, if you find something, then let whoever has it die." And so the search was done, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. "I didn't take nothing," Benjamin said to his brothers. "I swear." And the brothers had every right to be afraid. They were taken back to Joseph's house, who showed his displeasure with the brothers, though he really wasn't mad at all. Judah said to Joseph, "What can we do about this? I can't believe Ben would do something like this. He didn't do it." But Joseph wasn't buying it. He said, "Look, the brother that had the cup has to be my slave now. The rest of you should go home." "But please, my lord, he didn't do it. You don't know Benjamin. He wouldn't do this." "Look, don't do this," begged Judah. "What can we say? What can we do?" But Joseph was adamant. "It's done. You said so yourself. Look, the cup was found in the boy's sack. Now go home to your father." But Judah wouldn't give up. "Please, sir, don't be offended, for we know you're as powerful as the big guy, Pharaoh. But wasn't it you who asked about our father and brother? And we told you that we had a father and a much younger brother, as our father had him when he was very... And you wanted to see this young man for yourself, even though bringing him here was truly a hard thing for our dad. But even so, we brought him. We had to plead with our father to let him come with us. You see, my father lost one child to tragic circumstances, and if he loses this son, he'll just die. I know. How can I go to my father if our brother is not with me? Can you really let this happen to our father?"
The game is up. Joseph just couldn't keep up the game. He asked that all of his servants leave so that he could be alone with his brothers. And Joseph could not stop himself. He made everyone leave his presence with the exception of his brothers. And he cried because he was so filled with emotion. Are you really this dense? Look at me. I'm Joseph, your brother. You mean my father is still alive? And Joseph walked down to stand face to face with his brothers. And these brothers looked like they had just seen a ghost. They couldn't believe what their eyes were telling them. Look, don't be angry with yourself about what you did to me so many years ago. Don't you know that it was the plan of the Almighty all along? We've survived 2 years of famine, and we've got another 5 years to go before things get better. You got to realize that it was the Almighty who sent me here to keep you safe. Now here's what I want you to do. Go to my father and tell him that I'm alive and running things here in Egypt. Tell him I'll take care of him and all of you. I don't want you poor and struggling. And if you don't believe me, just look at Benjamin, my brother. See the resemblance? The eyes. Look at the eyes. Now, Harry, bring Dad here. Then Joseph wept with his arms around Benjamin's neck. He kissed each of his brothers and let them know that all was well. Everyone in Egypt heard that Joseph's brothers were there in Egypt, and all the gossip that went with knowing. Even Pharaoh got wind of it, but urged Joseph to do what he had to do. Bring your dad. I'll give your family the best land in town. When the brothers told Jacob that Joseph was alive, he didn't believe them. But the brothers kept on telling him that it was true until finally Jacob believed. It's true. Joseph's alive. Get this, running things in Egypt. And Jacob was relieved that he could see his son again before he died. Pharaoh welcomes Joseph's family. Joseph went and told Pharaoh that his father and brothers were going to stay with him. And he took 5 men from his brothers and gave them to Pharaoh. And when Pharaoh asked the brothers what they did for a living, they answered, Shepherds, sir. Have your brothers live in the finest area I have in Egypt. And if any of them be really tough at what they do, have them run my livestock. And Joseph brought his dad to meet Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked Jacob, How old are you? And Jacob answered, I'm 130 years old. I'm not as old as my father, but I'm getting there. Then Joseph provided his father and brothers with enough to keep them going for a long time. Jacob stayed in the land of Egypt. They had wealth there and built up their family. Jacob lived for 17 years in Egypt. When it was time for him to die, he called Joseph to him. Now that things are square between us all, please place your hand under my thigh and swear that when I die, you'll not bury me in Egypt, but in the burial place of my father. And Joseph said, I swear. Jacob blesses his grandkids. Soon it became apparent that Jacob was sick and dying. Joseph went to see his dad and took his sons with him. Jacob was told that they were coming, so he set himself straight so that he might look better to Joseph. When Joseph arrived, Israel said, The Almighty appeared to me and really laid some good things on me. And blessing Joseph, he said, Now your children are my children. And Jacob blessed Joseph's 2 sons, saying, Before my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the Almighty walked. It is God who has fed me and clothed me my whole life, and the angel of God has saved me from all evil. Bless these young men, and let my name be upon them, and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a great nation on this earth. Now Joseph saw that his father had put his right hand on his youngest kid. He was miffed. He wanted his oldest boy to get this particular blessing, but Jacob told him that he would just have to get over it. Look, I know that this is your firstborn, and he'll be a great person, really. But it is the younger brother who will be greater, and his descendants will become a great nation someday. The blessing of the 12 tribes. Jacob called his sons together before he died. He blessed and admonished them for all they had done. Jacob asked his sons to bury him alongside his father. The final chapter. After their father died, Joseph's brothers thought that Joseph might diss them and turn them out.
He might get justice for what we done to him.
So they sent a scouting party to Joseph to take a message which said,
"Forgive your brothers, man. They serve the Almighty as you do."
And Joseph cried. His brothers fell down before Joseph because they were so ashamed and told Joseph they would be his slaves. But Joseph told them, "Loosen up. Don't be afraid. Look, we're in the place of the Almighty. And though you meant me no good, God did mean it for good in order to bring about this day. So don't jock yourselves. I'm going to take care of things with you and your kids." Then he threw his arms around them and made them feel welcome. He told them that the Almighty would still keep the promise that he made to Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob. And taking a vow, Joseph told the children of Israel, "The Almighty will surely visit you, and you will take me away for burial." So Joseph died at 110 years of age, and they embalmed him and buried him in a coffin in Egypt. The end of the book of Genesis. May the Almighty bless the reading of his word. The second book of Moses, called Exodus. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Old Negro spiritual. Things just ain't the same. Now when Joseph died, all the families grew stronger in the land of Egypt, and they were all over the place. But as times changed, there was no directory assistance on Joseph and all he had done for folks around those parts. Now there was a new kid on the block. And this new Pharaoh, especially, looked around and noticed just how many folks of Israel, Jacob's family, were running around. And he said,
"Hey, these guys are living large here, and they ain't even Egyptian."
And he didn't want them getting too big to handle and start taking over.
"'Cause they might join up with our enemies and wipe us out."
So he put them to work building cities for him. The children of Israel were put to the test. They had more work than they knew what to do with. Still, they grew large and strong, making Pharaoh peeved. So Pharaoh looked up 2 Hebrew midwives and ordered them to do him a favor.
"Look, when you go and deliver the children of these Hebrew women, I want you to blow the boy babies away. You can let the girls live."
But the Hebrew midwives believed in the Almighty, and certainly were more afraid of the Almighty than old Pharaoh. So they didn't do it, and the Almighty blessed them. The children of Israel grew even stronger, and Pharaoh was miffed to the high heavens. He then ordered his henchmen to do as he told the midwives, so that the sons of the Hebrews would be wasted. He didn't have a beef with the daughters. The calling of Moses. There was this brother and sister who got together and had a son. As mothers do, the sister protected the son for 3 months until she couldn't hide him any longer. Taking some thick reeds and putting mud around them, she made a little boat and placed it among the reeds in the river. She told her daughter to lay low and see what would happen to her baby boy. Soon Pharaoh's daughter came to the river to take a bath, and when she saw the little boat, she sent her maid to get it. She knew instantly that it was a Hebrew child who needed protection, so she didn't drop a dime on the kid, but decided to raise him as her own. The baby's real sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "You want me to get some Hebrew sister to nurse the kid?" And Pharaoh's daughter said, "Yes, do that." So that when the kid's mother came over, Pharaoh's daughter hired her to nurse him until he was bigger. And she named him Moses, 'cause it meant, "I got him out of the water." Moses grew strong, and when he was a man, he saw an Egyptian beating up on a Hebrew brother. Later, when no one was looking, he killed the Egyptian brother and hid him in the sand. The next day, when he saw 2 Hebrew brothers fighting, he tried to break it up, but one of them cried out, "What? You want to kill us too?" Now Moses knew that if these brothers knew, probably everyone else knew too, that he had wasted an Egyptian brother and tried to cover it up, so he ran away. And for sure, when Pharaoh heard about what Moses had done, he wanted his behind. So Moses found a place to hide, where he also found a fine sister to marry. Moses lived and worked there for her father. A real heavy message. Moses' gig was to care for the flock of the sheep that belonged to his father-in-law. One day he went out to the desert with the flock next to the place that was the very mountain of the Almighty. And right there, in the midst of a burning bush, the Almighty's angel appeared to Moses. Even though there was fire, the leaves and the branches didn't even seem to burn.
"Goodness,"
said Moses.
"what's happening here?"
The Almighty raised his voice and called,
"Moses! Moses!"
"I'm here," said Moses. And the Almighty said,
"Take your shoes off, son. This is holy ground."
Moses scrambled around to do as he was told. Then the Almighty said,
"I am the Almighty of your father, the Almighty of Abraham, the Almighty of Isaac, and the Almighty of Jacob. I am the one."
Moses was afraid, but the Almighty continued,
"I've had my eye on the children of Israel, who are in Egypt, and I know how rough it's been for them. I'm going to take them away from all that and bring them into a land flowing with milk and honey. And you, son, are going to help me."
"You've got to be kidding," said Moses. "I ain't nobody be doing something like that."
And the Almighty said, "I ain't sending you alone. I'll be there."
"All right, sounds cool. So what? Even if you're with me and all, why should the children of Israel follow me? They'll ask questions. I ain't got the answers. What'll I say when they ask who sent me?" The Almighty said to Moses,
"Just tell them, I am who I am. Tell them, I am has sent you. Also tell them that the Almighty of their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent you. I have not changed. I'm working this only 'cause my promise to their fathers. Don't worry. They'll listen to you. I promise."
And the Almighty got down to business with Moses, explaining to him what he should do. He warned him that it wouldn't be easy.
"The king of Egypt ain't giving up no free labor, but I'll show him things never seen before. I'll put a hurting on him he'll never forget."
But Moses was not convinced. "Look, I don't talk so well, and they might still jock me about your having sent me. What then?"
The Almighty said, "What's in your hand?"
"A rod."
"Well, throw it down."
And when it was on the ground, the rod turned into a snake. Moses started to take off, but the Almighty stopped him.
"Come on, guy. Just put out your hand."
The snake became a rod again.
"Believe me, man, when I tell you. They'll listen. And if that doesn't work, try this. Put your hands inside your shirt."
When Moses pulled his hand from his shirt, it was white, like a leper. And the Almighty told him to put his hand back inside his shirt, and his hand was on the one again.
"Then," said the Almighty, "if they don't believe you, take water from the river and pour it on the ground. It'll be a bloody mess."
But Moses still wasn't having it. "Look, God, I don't speak so hot. I stutter. You got to get somebody else." Even though Moses was making the Almighty mad, the Almighty told him that he would get his brother Aaron to speak for him.
"Look, you can speak to Aaron, and he'll tell Pharaoh everything you say, okay? And don't forget the rod. It'll help you do these wonders I've talked about."
So Moses went back to his father-in-law and told him that he was going to have to go and see about his brothers down in Egypt. Jethro said, "Go, man, in peace." Moses took his wife and kids and put them on a donkey to head towards Egypt. And the Almighty warned Moses again that the Pharaoh wasn't going to be an easy nut to crack.
"Look, all of this is going to really make Pharaoh mad, and he ain't going to let my people go. He'll try and get tough. But that's really all right with me, 'cause I got something for him."
The Almighty sent for Aaron and told him to go and meet Moses so that they could go and talk to the elders of Israel together. Aaron spoke for Moses all that the Almighty had told him, and the elders bowed their heads and worshipped him. The Almighty ain't playing with you, Pharaoh. Afterwards, Moses and Aaron went and told Pharaoh that it was time to let up. The Almighty said, let my people go. Pharaoh wanted to know,
who is this God, and why should I obey him? He ain't nobody to me, so why should I listen?
Look, said Aaron, let us go into the desert and make a sacrifice to the Almighty. This way nothing bad will happen to us.
Why should I? Look, you're taking these folks from their work. Let them get back to it.
Pharaoh then told the brothers who worked for him to put a hurting on the children of Israel.
Make it hard on them. They couldn't have too much to do wanting to go out and sacrifice things. And by the way, don't give them any straw to make their bricks either.
Now the work was harder, and still the children of Israel had to fill their quota while adding the misery of gathering their own straw. Things were worse, not better. Instead of getting mad at Pharaoh, who was jockeying them big time, they got mad at Moses and Aaron.
If you hadn't come here, none of this would have happened to us. Go away. You ain't welcome here.
So Moses and Aaron went back to the Almighty and asked him to help them because things seemed worse for the brothers. Much worse. God, look, this ain't working. Since we've come here, more work has been heaped upon the children of Israel. Pharaoh has nailed them. But the Almighty answered, now you can watch me work. He told Moses and Aaron, when I'm through with the Pharaoh, he'll drive the children of Israel out himself, because I am the Almighty. He'll find out I'm not to be messed with before this is all over. And he told Moses and Aaron to go back to the children of Israel and let them know that he knew all about how Pharaoh was jockeying them. Tell them, said the Almighty, a change is gonna come. The tribes of Israel were mighty and large, and Moses was 80 years old when he came back to Egypt to work for the Almighty in setting the children of Israel free. Aaron was 83. The plague game. So Pharaoh wanted to know why Moses and Aaron were sweating him.
Look, boys, why are you here? Prove to me that your Almighty is so fired up.
Moses told Aaron to throw down his rod, and the rod became a huge snake.
So what?
Said the Pharaoh, and he had his magicians throw down their rods, which also turned into snakes. But Moses' snake was much bigger and a whole lot badder. It gobbled up every last one of the magician's snakes. Still, Pharaoh wasn't impressed, because now the Almighty had made him mad. And he said,
so what? I ain't letting them go. What you gonna do about it?
Then Moses stretched out his rod over the river, and all the water turned into blood. The fish died, and the river smelled to high heaven, and no Egyptian could drink water in the whole country for 7 whole days. But Pharaoh considered himself one bad dude. He wasn't budging. So the Almighty had to send another plague. Man, oh man, said Moses, you ain't got it yet. The Almighty said, let his people go. You want frogs hopping all over the place? Think seriously, because everywhere you look, there they'll be. Pharaoh wasn't buying it, though. As far as he was concerned, Moses, Aaron, and their God were blowing off some steam. He wasn't budging. So Aaron did as Moses commanded. Stretched forth his hand, and frogs leaped out all over the place. Pharaoh's magicians did their best to outdo Moses, but they couldn't get the frogs to cease until the Almighty said so, and he wasn't saying. So Pharaoh called Moses.
Okay, take the frogs away, and you guys can go and make a sacrifice to your Almighty.
All right, said Moses. Let's make a deal. If you keep your word, the frogs will leave your houses and stay in the river. Pharaoh said,
Deal.
Moses asked the Almighty to relieve the Egyptians of the frogs, so they stopped coming out of the river. And the people burned the frogs, and everywhere you turned, things really stank. But Pharaoh wasn't really ready to deal. He was getting real sore about everything the Almighty was doing. The Almighty told Moses to tell Aaron, "Stretch out your hand so that there will be lice all over the land." And Moses did as he was told, and the dust of the land turned to lice. The magicians did their best to outdo Moses, but it was no use. Lice covered up everything, man and beast. Pharaoh still wasn't buying into it. He just wasn't about letting the children of Israel go. Every time the Almighty lit him up, it just made him mad, not scared. He dug his heels in further. Moses was told to go and tell Pharaoh that it was past time to let the children of Israel go because they had to serve the Almighty. He told Pharaoh, "Let my people go, man, because you're going to deal with flies swarming all over the place. Every Egyptian crib will be full of flies." And he let Pharaoh know that whatever was done to an Egyptian, the children of Israel would be all right. None of these plagues are going to affect my brothers, man. The flies took over everything, so that Pharaoh called on Moses to make it stop.
Okay. I'll let the children of Israel go. But they can't go far.
And so another deal was struck between Pharaoh and Moses. Moses prayed to the Almighty to relieve Egypt of the flies. But when the flies were gone, Pharaoh changed his mind and didn't let them go. Then the Almighty said,
"Go to Pharaoh and tell him he should let my people go. And if he doesn't, a real hurting's going to come that will have cattle dropping dead, left and right."
And it happened just like the Almighty said. But the cattle of the Israelites were strong and healthy. And this made the Pharaoh madder, and he didn't let the children of Israel go. So now the Almighty said to Moses,
"Take a handful of ashes and throw them in the air in front of Pharaoh. And when those ashes land, boils will break out all over the people of Egypt."
Moses took the ashes from the furnace and did as the Almighty instructed him, so that boils and sores broke out on every man, woman, and child and beast. And this time, the boils were so bad that the Pharaoh's magicians couldn't do nothing because they had sores too. The Almighty seemed to be making Pharaoh madder and madder because he didn't and wouldn't let the children of Israel go. Next day, the Almighty told Moses to get up early in the morning and go to Pharaoh once more and say,
"Let him go, man. Let Pharaoh know that I have sent you. And now I'm going to send something that will touch his very heart."
Then the Almighty told Moses to let the children of Israel know to get their families together, and their cattle too.
"Bring them inside, because I'm going to send a hail so hard and strong, it'll waste everything in sight."
And Moses stretched out his hand towards heaven, and thunder and lightning lit up the sky. Everywhere hail struck, there was fire, and it wasted both man and beast as it hit the ground. It burned up the fields of the Egyptians too. Only where the children of Israel lived, the land of Goshen, no hail fell. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron.
I give up. You're right. We're wrong. Okay? Go to your God and ask him to quit. I'll let his people go.
Moses went out and cried up to the Almighty to end it all, and he did. And when Pharaoh saw that the hail had stopped, it just made him mad again, and he wouldn't keep his deal with Moses. He didn't let the children of Israel go.
"I just keep making Pharaoh madder and madder,"
said the Almighty. And that was his plan, because he knew Pharaoh was hard-headed. He told Moses to go to Pharaoh again and tell him,
"Let my people go, or I'll send locusts. If there's anything left after that hail, it'll now be eaten by the locusts."
The locusts came big time. It was so bad that the servants of Pharaoh pleaded with him, "Let him go. Please get him out of here. We can't take much more of this." Pharaoh called for Moses.
Okay. Take your people and go. Tell your God I've sinned. and I'm sorry. All right, just go.
A strong wind came and blew the locusts away. But again, Pharaoh was stubborn and just got mad at the Almighty all over. Just like the last time, he didn't keep his word to let the children of Israel go. You ain't seen nothing yet. Pharaoh warned Moses if he saw him again, he was going to waste him.
I'm warning you. I don't want to see your face again, boy.
You answer it, said Moses to Pharaoh. You ain't going to see my face again. And the Almighty told Moses,
It's time. This time when I wind up, Pharaoh is going to drive you out of here fast. Round midnight, I will go out in Egypt, and the firstborn of the land of Egypt will die, from Pharaoh who sits high and mighty to his lowest servant.
And so that Pharaoh would know that there was a difference between his folks and the Almighty's chosen folks, not one hair on one child of an Israelite was to be touched.
Tell him that,
said the Almighty. But Pharaoh thought he was a bad dude. He blew off Moses, telling him to tell the Almighty,
Ain't nobody going nowhere. So there.
A new tradition. The children of Israel were told that from then on, this month was to be a special time every year. They were told to prepare special dishes and sacrifices by killing a lamb and fixing it up right. The blood of the lamb was to be placed on the post of the home of every Israelite on the 14th day, so that the angel of death would pass over the home. At midnight, the Almighty killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt. Even the cattle got wasted. But he didn't touch one hair on one head of the Israelites, just like he promised. Pharaoh, TKO. Pharaoh was beaten. He didn't want to admit defeat, but there was not one house in which someone wasn't dead. Every Egyptian in town wanted Pharaoh to drive the children of Israel out. 'Cause we don't want no more trouble. Next it will be us who will be lying dead. The children of Israel were finally put out just like the Almighty knew they would be. And Pharaoh was no match for the Almighty, knocked out in the 10th round. Hard head, soft behinds. Pharaoh had finally let the children of Israel go. But then his manhood had been challenged, so home dude started having second thoughts. As the children of Israel headed into the wilderness towards the Red Sea, carrying Joseph's bones with them, Pharaoh was getting madder by the minute. The Almighty knew that he had made Pharaoh mad again, and that this boy was really pig-headed.
Moses,
said the Almighty,
Pharaoh ain't learned his lesson just yet. After this, the children of Israel are going to know, once and for all, I am God Almighty.
And because the Almighty knew what he was talking about, Pharaoh took off after the children of Israel with his chariots and horsemen and his army. Just above camp, he saw them by the sea. Pharaoh thought it was going to be easy pickings. He thought,
Payback time.
The children of Israel looked up and saw that Pharaoh was barreling down fast, and they cried out to Moses,
So we're going to die out here? You couldn't leave well enough alone. It wasn't so bad slaving for the Egyptians, better than dying.
Moses, of course, ran to the Almighty and pleaded with him. What's the deal? Help us, Moses begged.
Stop whimpering,
said the Almighty.
Tell the brothers and sisters to go towards the sea. All you gotta do is lift your hand, and the sea will part. Then the children of Israel can cross over to safety. Those Egyptians think they're so tough. You watch. They'll call themselves getting mad and try to follow after everybody. But it'll be the last thing they'll do in this life. Old Pharaoh will know once and for all just who he's been messing with.
Moses stretched out his hands over the sea and divided the waters into two walls on either side of dry land. The children of Israel crossed to safety, and when the Egyptians followed, Moses stretched out his hands again, and the sea closed down on them, drowning every last one of them.